Hi, Duck. And let's break down animation. So I'm really glad to see your animations again, and really glad to see your stuff in general. So let's start with this fire loop. It looks quite good. I like the shapes that you're using. I like the overall detail and overall motion. So there are a couple bits that we can push a bit more and finesse in a sense. So the first and the most noticeable thing is this particle on the right. So it does seem like it's going down a bit too suddenly. So if we look here, let's lower the opacity as always. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see, sudden acceleration, and then acceleration, and then it suddenly goes down. So the issues that I'm worried about here is that instead of decelerating it up and then changing the direction and going down, we're accelerating for some reason, and then we instantly change the direction. So we were going up, and we were going up with acceleration. So a better way to handle that would be to go down with deceleration to this point, and then when we started going down, since we had a deceleration, it would be way easier and way better in a sense that the motion transition would be more smooth. And the same thing here. So we were going relatively slow at the start. We were accelerating, decelerating a bit. Then we go down, and then we go up again. So this doesn't make much sense because we have a change that is so fast. So we're going up, suddenly we're going down, we're going up again, we're going and staying in one spot, and then we're going down again. So you see, 3 direction transitions. So to make that work way better, we can do and cheat a bit. So this should go a little bit lower, this should go a little bit lower, same as previous frame essentially. Then this goes a bit higher, this goes higher, and this goes slightly higher, and then we go down. So right now, if we implement these changes, we'll have a deceleration and we have way more smooth transition. The second thing is consistency in direction. Overall, this kind of works here. And the way we introduce it works here. And then, you see, we had an acceleration to the left. And then we go straight up. And then we have moved to the left a bit. Then we're moving to the left again with acceleration, going to the left, to the left, to the left, and that's okay. So all that is okay except this part where you see the curve interrupts, and then we're going back on the curve again. And this is very visible and noticeable here. And the second thing is the sudden change in the highlight or the hot part. So you see, so it was going up, straight up, and then it suddenly goes down. And then it goes up, and then it goes down, and then it disappears. So to make that work, maybe we can have a form here right from the start. This would make the flame more connected, so it doesn't stay as disconnected at the start. And this would make this transition work if we keep the volume here instead of suddenly bringing it out of nowhere. And one other thing that seems to bother me, you see, the form goes up and slightly to the right, and then we suddenly go to the left, and then we go straight up again. So these are This is small stuff, but it makes quite some difference in the way it moves. So right here we have flame loop, another one. So this one looks quite well. There are some tiny minor issues that we can fix, but overall it's a good loop. So what are the things that we can change here? So you see, this form suddenly disappears for one frame here. There it was, and then it's nowhere to be found. And then it's back again, and then it's breaking up. So this doesn't make as much sense because it's such a subtle and small change, and it's there, it's not there, and then it's back. So it would make more sense just to have it and to have some shape here so it can become this shape, because we kind of have a tendency to have shapes going and appearing out of nowhere, like and it doesn't make much sense because we have a slowdown. So it kind of goes, oh, slow, 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 faster, super fast change, slower again, fast change. And you see, again, we're going on a curve, suddenly we're going straight up, and then we're going to the right again, to the right and straight up. So you see, we kind of interrupt in the curve because we have this masses appear and disappear out of nowhere. And again, you see, small, small, and it's going back and increasing in size, and it's going up. So to make that work, we would need a bigger mass, logically. So we would start without a hull here. Oh, sorry. Start without a hull here. No hull, no hull. Start introducing a hull. And then we can transition to this form. Instead of this form going up, 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 suddenly going down at the bottom and going up again. So this doesn't make much sense. So it's better to start with more volume and do something like that instead. Sorry. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. First, super fucking rough, but you get the point, hopefully. It also feels a bit weird that everything breaks up, and we divide the fire entirely into two separate shapes, because it makes the design way less interesting. Because we get this shape, which is on the same level, very similar in sizes, even here, and we get a separate shape here. So it would be nicer if we had something in between to make it work better and more contrasting. Let me think what we can do to make it more interesting. So first off, not sure, but we can do something like that. This would make it feel more connected, less broken up, and create a nice sense of, you see, continuity in design. So going back to the motion, we can sort some things about the motion at the top. So right now it goes up, up, constant motion, even speed. And then you see we don't have a slowdown. And then we change the direction and go to the left. Then we suddenly change the direction again and we go down. And then we go forward to the right. So it's kind of too many changes and we don't anticipate the changes. We don't slow down into the changes. So ideally, we should slow down here, slow down and go up here, slow down and go like here. We can go a bit back here, start going like this, creating this kind of a curve with a slowdown instead of changing directions like that. So hopefully that helps. Fire designs. I like them. They look quite cool. So generally speaking, I like the way you handle fire. I like the variety. I like the dynamic shapes. So the only thing that sometimes bothers me is some repetition and a sense of the shapes being broken up and not having how to say that even. So you break it up a bit too evenly, and sometimes you don't have big general shapes in a more complex and bolder designs. So right here we have this shape and everything is pretty detailed and everything is pretty small, and we don't have general shapes like some bigger areas of color that would have less of the holes, and the holes in which parts would make would be more different and smaller. Because right now we have, so this is the general hole size and it's present throughout this entire animation, and we don't have a bigger areas of internal color to accent and show the form better. So I would suggest adding more color, more solid areas in some places to contrast the way we add a lot of scene shapes everywhere else. Right here we can break up and vary the hole size a bit better, because we have this hole here and the hole here and they're quite similar. And the same thing here, so the holes are very similar. We can adjust the holes here as well so that they're not too symmetrical, maybe push one higher and stuff like that. And the same thing here, so we can push the difference between the holes and keep stuff more connected. Next up, so we have this, we have that, fire bursts. So first off, I really like the way you handle it. I like the creative ways it move. So this is cool and it's interesting. So that's a big plus, and it seems to be quite unique to you. So I think that works. So what are the things that we can push here? I think there are some parts where it works a bit strangely. Let's see. So I like this one, the first one on the left. It works really well. One thing is that I think that the repetition in these particles is too noticeable, because you see this big form here, this bigger form here, and these two are the only smaller forms at this point, and they're very symmetrical. They're very similar in size, in placement. They create this kind of rectangle, and they have similar forms and shapes. So varying the sizes and the motions, maybe this one goes higher and only then goes to the left and rotates. This all would make it more interesting. So in the second one, I like the behavior of the external contour. For the internal contour, I think we need a bigger slowdown here. So you see, get this shape, and then we lose light here. And then the light goes back down, back here. So slow down this part of the light so that the shapes that are catching up are not super fast and we can actually read the motion, because right now the motion of the yellow internal layer is not readable. So you can sense that it's moving, but you can't really see that it's moving because the motion is super fast. So it goes back, up, slows down, goes up, goes down, goes forward. And here it goes to the left, goes up, goes down, disappears. So having more slowdown in the yellow part would help. Right here, I would have more particles staying longer for this bigger shape and have more variety in the sizes of these shapes. Right now they're very similar. But I really like the way you're dealing with it. So, except for the small motion changes, I really like the idea of the fire moving like that, more unpredictably, having more wave motion, and having these nice transitions. That's really cool. I might take note of a few of these motions myself even. Okay. Okay, smoke design. So I think you're quite good on smoke design. Again, we can vary stuff and push it even further. It seems like there is a couple things, a couple principles that we still have to deal with. So overall, the design seems pretty cool. I would change the background to a darker color, um, for sure, because I think it would work better with a darker background. I genuinely think so. Maybe some kind of gray, because there are a lot of different colors and we need a neutral backdrop to make it work better. So a darker hue of gray, neutral gray, would work a bit better, I feel like. The second thing is repetition in shapes. So overall, I really like the forms that you're using and the ways that you're using them. It's just that we can push some of the shapes to make it even more interesting. So I'll just point out the areas where the shapes are very similar. So you see, you kind of tend to have similar shapes grouped together. But aside from that, you have a pretty solid sense of design. So it has some nice volume, it has some nice flow. It's just about pushing these differences. Because right now, it's kind of grouping all the shapes together that makes it a little bit less interesting. The second thing that we can push uh, is on some of these we can push the distance between the contour, the outer contour, because right here, for example, everything seems to be avoiding touching the contour, which makes it less volumetric because it seems like we're implying a lot of motion, but it's kind of like on a flat slate or on a flat surface because we're kind of avoiding the edges. We don't have to avoid the edges, so treat it as you treat it here. So some places it can be far away from the edge, some places it can be closer to the edge, because when you have it like that, with a relatively similar distance to the edge everywhere, it seems like it's on a flat plane. And I would simplify this one because it has a lot of small details, but it doesn't have a general bigger form of light and shadow. So it seems very broken up. And yeah, that's it for now. This one. So pretty cool smoke animation. I like the shapes. We can have a bigger slowdown because right now we kind of have a fast start of the animation and the end of the animation is pretty fast as well. So we don't get a sense of really good contrast between the speed at the start and at the end. So we can push that. A second thing is again the slowdown. So we go and we go and we go. Sudden slowdown, huge acceleration to the right. Then we go straight up. Slow down, slow down, suddenly accelerate again. Same speed, same speed. Sudden slowdown, and the spot suddenly goes down. See, there wasn't deceleration before. And then it goes up again. It goes up, up, accelerates, and goes here. See, the sudden deceleration doesn't make much sense here. And at the top, I think we can push the deceleration because right now we have this, and then it suddenly goes to the left and decelerates a lot. And we get this strange curve. So we go 1, 2, then we suddenly go 3, 4, then we go up again, slow down, go like this. So you see it kind of suddenly slows down here, accelerates, suddenly slows down, accelerates, slows down. Sudden slowdown, acceleration. So can slow it down more as it goes up, give it more form here and more place to decelerate. Because right now these forms actually accelerate on the way down, accelerate a lot. See, the spacing is big. And we can have some smaller shapes as well, because right now the shapes are quite big and we don't have anything maybe helping us to see the previous motion. But aside from that, it's pretty good. Next, we have a smoke burst. I really like the animation here. It's very smooth. We get nice transitions, we get nice variety. One thing that we can probably push here is just leave some small and medium particles. So right here we get some variety in particle size, but we can have more. And there are a couple strange motions here. So see, this form goes ouch, ouch, ouch. We go 1, 2, we go back, we go forward, we go back, we go back, we go forward, we go back, forward, we go back. So we kind of bounce back and forth. And the same happens here. We go, we go, we go here, 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 we go here. It's not a very big deal. It's just something we can push. And right here, we can, instead of dragging this particle along this time, we can leave a particle here, for example, and break up the edge more. Because right now the edge style stays very simple and stays the same curve for quite a long time. And instead of making it a single curve, we can, for example, start raising this part more and keep this part with more volume. And then as we go, this part is more delayed and this part is moving a bit faster. And then on this frame, we still have some volume for this particle. Maybe I'll draw it like that. And then after that, we'll leave it as a particle here in this spot, kind of like maybe something like this. And then we'll have a bit more particle variety and we'll have more interesting curvature, so that it's not the same curve all this time, but we'll have something to break it up. And in the same way here, we can have some parts more delayed, because right now it seems like all these particles in this area break up relatively in the same period of time. And it breaks up in the middle here. We can push the difference between these two shapes. Aside from that, it's looking pretty well. So you were also asking me about the way to deal with color and about to work with colored animation. So I think that the thing to keep in mind is, again, working on layers, having the light table for the color, for every color that you add, keeping track of shapes and thinking about the big picture. You can do a couple thumbnails when you experiment with the shapes and how they would look at each part of the animation, so the start, the middle, the end, so you understand how the light can transfer around the shape. And aside from that, you'll get used to working with the colors the more you work with it. So the more you work with additional shapes, you can understand how much you can cheat, because you don't have to be 100% precise, and stuff like that. And experimental fire animations that you did works pretty well. So I think you'll be fine. It's just about finding your way to work with it and getting used to it a bit more. I also noticed something. Okay, so right here, you see the white layer suddenly accelerates and changes, and we can kill off this particle faster. Very small stuff. So hopefully that helps. Wish you good luck with animations and see you later. I'll break down the rest of the animations in the next feedback.